strugglingacademics.com.
All right, so welcome to Struggling Academics. I am Jan Pedersen, and today's topic is on Summer Readings 2021. Before we get into it, I would like to say thanks very much to everyone who is listening to our podcast. It's delightful to see that there are people out there who can actually be bothered to listen to us. That's great stuff. If you want to help us out, please subscribe and please tell all your friends about us. We are on strugglingacademics.com. You can find us, of course, on YouTube and also on other social media. So let's get into it. Today's topic on summer readings this summer. And I will kick off by giving the word to Diana. Diana, could you please tell us, what are you going to read this summer? And more importantly, why?
It's hard to say at this point exactly what I'm going to read because my TBR list, it's growing and growing and growing. And there are all kind of parameters that influence my decisions to remove or to put a new book in the on the pile. I would start, and it's the first one on my list is the Argonautica. And there is a little bit of a family story behind it, because my young daughter is reading all the Percy Jackson's series, and she's so into Greek mythology that sometimes I find myself troubled with answering all kind of questions about secondary monsters or demigods that I forgot about. So I decided to put my hands on the only Hellenistic epic, surviving Hellenistic epic that we have up to this day, and to go through every line and refresh my memory with what she needs to know without using Wikipedia, because that would be easier than reading a old ancient writing. Another item on my list, actually it might be not one but many, because I'm involved in kind of about 3 book clubs, and yeah, I know it sounds trivial, but
it sounds ambitious.
Yeah.
It's a very good way to keep up with the contemporary writing and fiction, because otherwise you don't have much input and you cannot read everything all the time. So I'm sort of running a thorough selection through the books that are suggested for the book club, and sometimes obviously I don't read but the first and the last page. But I found very good, interesting novels to read, suggested by the book clubs. One of them was Pachinko by Min-Jin Lee. It's a Korean-American writer, and it's a very interesting novel. And another impressive discovery was a kind of young adult story called The House in the Cerulean Sea, which is a kind of fiction mystery story about a young clerk who is sent to a remote island to investigate a orphanage with not kids but monster kids. And it's about his adventures in that amazing house. I didn't read it all. I'm half through. Maybe you would be surprised by another selection on my summer readings list. It's poetry, but yeah, I read poetry, and that's your surprise face.
Shock face.
And I really need to reread Anne Carson. Maybe you don't know who she is, but she's a famous Canadian poet. She's specialized in Greek and Latin history and literature. She gave different courses and classes on creative writing, comparative literature, and ancient literature. And the most famous collection, I would call it, is Autobiography of Red, which is actually a novel poem about the story of a red monster who was living on a red island, and he was herding a red cattle herd. And it's his story, love story with Hercules. In the poem, it's called Heracles. That finished with a interesting love triangle next to a volcano. I won't give you, and I won't spoil it for you because it's more than a poem. It's a novel with a poetic plot.
The volcano is a triangle.
Yeah. What a love triangle. It's somebody who loves triangles. All right. What else? I drafted a list with soon to be shortlisted novels by the Man Booker Prize, which you probably might know. It's the most prestigious literary award in the English speaking world. At the beginning, it's been limited to United Kingdom and Ireland, but recently, if I'm not wrong, since 2014, they allowed all kind of English published novels to enter the competition.
Oh, the colonies.
Yeah, the colonies.
Like
You-
Canada.
You call my country a colony.
Okay.
This list is going to be released, the short list. The long list, I think it's been already released, but the short list is released by the end of the summer, I think July, sometime in July. And I plan on reading all of them because I read all of them every year, and I bet with myself which is going to be the winner. I got it right most of the times. I'm very proud of myself here, but
It's impressive.
I didn't write the novels; they did it. It's their achievement, not mine. What else? All sorts of other short novels that I enjoyed sometime in the past. Marrakesh, not Joyce. I'm not mentioning any Joyce anymore. Vargas Llosa, and I want to go back to another Canadian novelist, Michael Ondaatje, and one of his most famous novel that made it to the film. It's The English Patient. I let you go through your own challenges when it comes to reading for the upcoming summer. Tudor?
Me? Okay. So, well, it's hot summer because it's 1 month and a few days. I mean, it's already mid-July. Summer is gone. Actually, I'll start with James Joyce. Yeah, I did that before. I want to read Ulysses. I won't be able to read it in a month, but at least I'll do I have the books with me, by the way. I'll do the introduction, which is the artist as a young man, right? So I wondered, why don't people manage to read Ulysses? Because I did a survey among my friends. None of them has finished Ulysses.
I did.
Why? Everybody says that. So I thought it started with the portrait of the artist, which is the childhood of a character who's about to become Ulysses, because that's the Daedalus here, right? It's a logical way to do it. But in the meantime, I've been to a fair and I bought a book because I was with my wife. My daughters were buying like trinkets and old stuff and something to repair and cakes. And I got a book, which was discovered by me because it's looks very old, and it's actually full of, let's say, illustrations. Can you see? It's like birds.
We try to move as if I can see.
Yeah,
better.
I mean, why did I do that all of a sudden? What?
Oh, very cool.
Published in 1939. and doesn't have the first pages. You see, it's been torn apart. Why? Because in the communist days, anything to do with the king, and 1939 was 1 year before World War II, and it was already a kind of turbulent period before like a king and fascist dictatorship in Romania. So after the communist year, during the communist year, everything to do with the king was torn apart. But it was damaged. But here it says only 24 issues of this book were ever printed. And this one is number 4. So kind of when I saw, I never heard of this guy before, von Dombrovsky, never ever. And when I started reading it, it's amazing. He's doing comparative study of birds in Middle East, Romania, and Germany. So kind of why, and I negotiated, by the way, I bought it even cheap. Yeah, that's bad, I know. But that's my summer. Of course, there was no second volume for this because World War II started. I never heard of this. So it's like there were 23 copies when it was issued. Now one is with me. So this is my summer reading for sure. Then my daughters are starting French, so I got Stendhal, Chronique Italienne. This was in my library, and my daughter said, if you love books and Stendhal so much, why is it burned here? So I don't remember how I burned that book, but it's still readable, so it wasn't me doing things to books. And I'll finish with, I am amazed that in the colonies, they still read poetry, but here I have a book of poetry. All my books are classics. So this one, too. This is a book from 1926, but it's Baudelaire, Fleur de Mal, right? So it's the entire, actually, volumes, but the story of this book is more important than the poetry. It was given to a person, I'm not saying who, and that person was in love with a daughter of a very, very well-known composer, already old one. And she was in love with him, and he was invited in a big mansion in the center of Bucharest. And his father got him, come, we have a talk here. Huge, like a real palace, right? All aristocratic family and composers, classical music, of course. And asked, well, how about your family? Where do you come? And so mother, father, and so on. And I mentioned, and mentioned some of my parents, grandparents are workers. And that's when the conversation stopped. And the daughter was called in the other room. And I said, can I borrow this? Yes, borrow it, but please, we don't want to see you again. So it's my kind of memory from a lost love, because I got workers in my family, which I'm also proud of. By the way, I do have also aristocrats, so, but I started wrong footing. So that's, Le Fleur du Mal here has a story for me. I'm going to read these 4, and if I manage, get into Ulysses and finish it by mid-September. So I'm not promising anything here. So David, your turn.
Well, what can I say? I don't have much of a summer reading list because I'm actually quite a slow reader. But in honor of Diana, who is an honorary Canadian, who also lives in Montreal, I picked up, quite reluctantly, Charles Taylor's A Secular Age. Boy, I was at Barnes & Noble yesterday, and we were looking through stuff, and I went to the very teeny tiny philosophy section, which is like, very small, like a shoe rack. And that was there. And out of all the books, it didn't have a price on the back. So my girlfriend Priscilla was there to buy books for her nephew. She's going back to Brazil, so she was picking up all this stuff for him, kids' books, and actually a little bit about the Declaration of Independence, all these things, little things for him to I guess, learn a little bit more about America. So we walk up with this book, and the manager was, I think, probably the most insistent person I've ever met in a polite way to buy this book. It was like every step, it was like, well, we're ringing. Are you sure you don't want to buy that one? After I saw the price. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. And then, of course, then Priscilla gets in on it. And it's like, come on, just buy it. Just, no. And then they were like, well, let's see what kind of discount code you have. And I put in one number. And then I give him my father's number. I'm sure you're not supposed to do that. He was junior high teacher. So, there's a 20% discount. So now it's like, you can get this whole thing for only $18. All of this wonderfulness. So you better buy it. And I did. And I'm looking forward to it. I read a little bit of Taylor as a graduate student, actually, for my dissertation. I liked some of the ways that he was kind of formulating the idea in which the individual emerges. It's very like social group oriented. But to go back to the summer reading and less of my ranting, I've also decided I'm going to try to get through, particularly for the kids, and they humor me, the kind of Socratic dialogues. So the kids always want me to read to them at night. Which is nice. I love reading to them. They've not learned that the only thing I read to them is stuff like this. And that's all it's ever been since they were little. And we read all the Ramayana at one point. We read the Iliad. We've read a lot of stuff. And so we're reading the Meno now. And they they tolerate it, but now my daughter wants me to do it in different voices. So she won't let me just, and so even though, I'm sure for sure this is not how it's supposed to be, I kind of imagine Meno as kind of like a Mookie, kind of like a East Coast kind of guy who doesn't really know what he's talking about. And Socrates is kind of like an annoying guy who kind of talks like this. Well, Meno, it has to, and then Meno's like, whoa, I don't know, Socrates. I mean, you seem to be trying to confuse me. So this is like...
Oh, that's great, Dave.
I mean, it's all night long like this. And that's like the only way my daughter will tolerate it now. So, And to try to go back and forth, and particularly the Socrates, who kind of talks like this, and he's it actually really hurts your throat after a while. But, yeah.
You should record these sessions. I mean, this is great stuff for the future. Oh, man.
So that's what we've been doing.
You fit the profile.
Yeah, I'm trying my hardest.
So annoying though. You can do a little better there. You can be more annoying.
Well, you guys like me, There are a lot of people who find me annoying. So Notice how the place is empty around noon every Sunday for me to record these sessions with you guys.
Who said annoying is not likable? I mean, it could be a very likable personality trait, even if you're annoying.
That is true, though. There is something about that, right?
I think, David, this is part of the podcast where everything should go silent and just, somewhere in the background you can hear a far distance, you hear this eagle going. It's just totally solitude.
Completely silent. Everyone, even from the cities, left me. Yeah.
Yeah, just the city has left you. That's the problem.
Exactly.
All right.
But we love you. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Absolutely. So, David, is that
that's it? That's it.
That's your list.
That's the whole list.
I guess it's me then. I can say that for as far as I remember, summertime for me has always been I must read Gothic novels. Now I've read most of them, so there's I'm running into problems. I can of course reread things, which is always very tempting. But for this particular summer, I came up with something entirely new. I wouldn't say it's a Gothic novel, but it's let me see if I can show it to you here. It's The Devil in Love by Jacques Gazot. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's about the devil who falls in love with a poor captain, I suppose. He is. So it's a French novel. I don't know much about it, but it sounds interesting and definitely dramatic enough. So that's going to be one of the readings I'm going to do this summer. In the autumn, I have a small lecture coming up for an outreach sort of university we have here in Denmark, and it's going to be on utopias. And I've read several utopias, but there are a few that I haven't read, and I thought now is the time to catch up upon it. So I got this particular book here, which is a collection of 3 utopias. There's Thomas More's Utopia. That one I have read. And then there's Francis Bacon, New Atlantis, which I don't know anything about. And also Henry Neville's The Isle of Pines. So these are the two last ones in the series, or in the book. That's what I'm going to read. But that's basically work-related reading. But I bet it's going to be pretty interesting, nevertheless. And then for the last of my books I'm going to read is a biography about the imminent Isaiah Berlin, which is a philosopher of the 20th century that I very much enjoy listening to, and I stress listening to because many of his talks and lectures are on YouTube. So one of my favorite ones is The Roots of Romanticism. And I've also, I used that particular series for my master's my master thesis. But I don't know anything about the man. And I thought it was about time that I read up about him, because he seems to have, there's some indication at least, that he has lived a pretty interesting life. So Isaiah Berlin, here I come. I'm going to try to read this biography and see where it leads me. Hopefully I can use some of it for some future work that I might do with regards to Romanticism at least. So that's my quick list of things that I wish to read during the summer. So, and it's about time that we wrap things up. So I would like to say thank you very much to everyone. It's interesting to see what you guys have lined up. And I would remind the listeners that please support us. You can find us on the Tube, of course, but we are also present on most social media. But most importantly, try to spread the word and make your friends look for the owl, as Tudor said the last time. So thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Oh, hey. To stay up to date on what's happening at Struggling Academics, click the subscribe button.